Hello. So good morning, everybody. It's Keith here from Redbox Financial. Lovely to have you all here. I'll just give it a couple of minutes for a few more people to join us before we properly dive in. So while we wait, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Always love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. So drop your town or city in for me. And while you're at it, what's the one thing about your business finances that's been keeping you up all night? Pop it in the comments and I might just answer it live. So let's make a start. So your profit and loss account can tell you you're making money, obviously, while your bank account can actually be quietly bleeding to death. So this is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into, because profit feels very reassuring and profit looks good in the accounts. Profit makes you think the business is working, but profit does not pay wages, profit does not pay VAT, profit does not pay suppliers. Cash does. So in the next 10 minutes, I want to show you exactly where your cash is going and how to take back control of it. Also, many of you are not really profitable or not very profitable, because there's an even bigger trap to fall into, which is focusing on turnover. How many people have you met that say, oh, my turnover's X or Y, and they just focus on the turnover, they just focus on that one number? But that's a classic mistake, because really there's three metrics to get to your net profit. There's turnover, there's gross profit percentage, and then there's overheads. You need to focus on all three, and then you get to net profit. But what my point is in this video, that even if those three metrics are fantastic and you're making loads of net profit, you still might have a major problem with cash, and it's basically cash that you need to pay everyone. So this is what we're focusing on today. And it's absolutely a crucial point that is often overlooked until it's too late. So this is the one line I want you to take home today. So profit is not cash. I've seen plenty of businesses that looked profitable on paper, but were under serious pressure because the cash was trapped in things like debtors, stock, trapped in growth, in tax, in bad systems, and most of all, poor financial control. So don't just ask, am I profitable? Ask the better question, where is the cash? Because if you can't answer that, you can be profitable and still run out of money. And if you're not profitable, so even worse than that is, where is the profit? So there's two questions. So first of all, there's, where is the turnover? Yes, you've got to sell stuff. Where is the GP percentage? Where are the overheads? They're out of control. Can we reduce them? And then that all gives you to where's the profit. So yes, we've got profit, but the important question I'm focusing on tonight is, we've got no cash, even though we're doing really well on profit, possibly, or if you're doing badly on profit as well, that's even worse. Okay, so let's go to the next slide now. So let me describe what this actually feels like. So let's suppose you're making sales. Let's suppose your accountant says you're making profit, assuming you've got an accountant. Maybe the business is growing. You've got things like staff, customers, invoices going out the door. But yet, every single month, it still feels tight. Payroll is stressful. VAT is painful. Corporation tax feels like an ambush. Where's all the money gone? So that question is far more common than people realise. It's one of the main reasons ambitious owners come to me. And here's the thing. They're usually not failing, they're actually growing, because this issue comes more with growing companies. So quick one before I dig in. If that tide, where's the money feeling, sounds familiar, drop a single word in the comments for me, and I'd love to see how many of you are nodding right now. So I just sorting out my StreamYard software. Okay, sorry about that. So why can a profitable business run out of cash? So here are 5 main reasons, and I'll take you through each. So reason 1, debtors. Reason 2, working capital. Reason 3, tax timing. Reason 4, growth without controls. And reason 5, no forward view. Okay, so let's start with debtors. So supposing you make the sale, you do all the work, you send the invoice, you recognise the revenue. Your P&L says, wonderful, we've made lots of money. But the customer hasn't actually paid you yet. So the profit exists in the accounts and the P&L, but not in the bank. So that's why debtor days matter so much as an important metric to track. So for example, if a customer's take 60 days to pay you, but you've got to pay wages, rent, software supplies and VAT before then, you are funding your customers. You are acting like a bank, except you're charging no interest and you might not even realise you're doing it. And you're exposing yourself to the risk of bad debts. Maybe they'd never pay you. In one review I did, debtor days were sitting at 57.5 days, around £55,000 of cash trapped, despite the business making over 100 grand of EBITDA. They thought they had a profit problem, but they actually had a cash problem. So be honest with yourself for a second and tell me in the comments one word. Do your customers pay you on time? Yes or no? Okay, so let's moving on to the second reason. So this is the working capital trap. So working capital is simply the money tied up in running a business. So, for example, we talked about debtors. That's one way it could be tied up in the business. Stock, work in progress, timing of supply payments, VAT, prepayments, all the unglamorous stuff that can quietly strangle a company. And here's the trap. When you grow, you need more of all this. You need more stock, you need more people, more kits, more marketing, and all of that goes out before the cash from those sales come in. So growth consumes cash before it creates cash. So that's why a business can be growing, profitable, and still feel constantly short of money. In another review, the working capital cycle had stretched to nearly 98 days, so cash down by over £100,000, nearly 79,000 trapped in debtors and stock. So that's not theoretical, that's money that could have been paid in wages, tax, dividends, or just a decent night's sleep. So this is crucially important, and especially in times of growth. Growth is actually quite dangerous for a company, especially fast growth or uncontrolled growth. And many companies do actually go bust just when they're growing. So everything on paper, profit, sales look fantastic, but because the growth is too fast and they don't have proper funding in place, they don't have any financial controls to monitor it and slow things down as needed, they end up going bust. So it's something that's extremely important. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Tax timing, our favourite subject. We all love tax, don't we? And this one catches a lot of owners out. You make profit this year, then 9 months later, HMRC wants corporation tax. You collect VAT from your customers, you see all this money sitting in the bank, but if you spend that money before the quarter ends, the VAT bill lands like an emergency. And PAYE and pensions come around every single month, relentlessly. So let me say this plainly. HMRC is not the problem. What is the problem is the lack of forecasting. So if you know what's coming, you can plan for it. If you don't, every tax bill feels like a crisis. Okay, so the fourth reason is growth without control. So we've already touched on this, and it is very common at any stage. So the owner is brilliant at selling, the company grows, the team grows, the complexity grows, and often the finance function doesn't grow at the same pace as the others because everyone thinks, oh, uh, finance function, we've got a basic bookkeeper. We download the worse, we just download the bank statements into the software. We don't need to do anything else. We can't, we don't want to why spend money on something that's an overhead? We want more profit, so we need to cut our overheads. So don't spend money on an accountant, don't spend money on a fractional CFO. Let's just carry on selling and stuff. But then that's a false economy because you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk. And as we explained, there's no point making lots of profit if you don't have enough cash to pay anything and could ultimately risk going bust. So that's the reason the finance function, spending on that, tends to lag behind the other things like turnover and growth and so on. So what you end up with often is poor or even non-existent management accounts, maybe weak credit control, not chasing debtors properly, no proper forecasting, unclear margins. You don't have a clue maybe what's going on with the business. You don't even know if you're making profit or loss half the time because you can't tell that just by looking at the balance in your bank statement. And big decisions are basically being made on gut feel. Big mistake. It might work sometimes. You might be lucky and make a few really fantastic decisions on gut feel, but you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk because it just takes one bad decision that could basically bankrupt your company. So it's dangerous because, especially as the business grows, the bigger the business gets, the bigger the numbers get, the more expensive the mistakes become. For example, at 100 grand of turnover, poor cash control is annoying. At $1 million, it's dangerous. At 5 million, it destroys value. A lot of owners think the answer is just more sales, but more sales can make the problem worse if your margins are thin and your debtors are slow. So turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is reality. So the fifth reason is no forward view. So most accounts look backwards. They tell you what already happened, and probably I'd say 90% of you watching this, maybe 95%, this is your situation. You just give all your data to your accountant who files your taxes, and then several months, maybe 9 months after the event, you say, oh, by the way, in that year, you made a profit or loss of X amount. So everything is very historic, and that's too late for all the decisions you've made since then. So not only do you need to know what's going on actually at this precise moment in time, you need to know what's going to happen in the future. Short-term forecasts, a few months, more certain, and also longer-term forecasts where you're sort of trying to steer the company over the next few years, and you can make decisions now that can make that safer, make you grow faster, etc. So yeah, the basic problem is that most people or most accountants, they just look backwards. They just look at what already happened. But any cash flow problem is going to happen in the future. So the danger isn't usually today. Maybe it's 6 weeks from now. Maybe it's 12 weeks from now. Maybe it's the next VAT payment, the next payroll, the next slow paying customer. So trying to manage cash from historic accounts is like driving down the motorway using only your rear view mirror. And what you need is a live, rolling 13-week cash flow forecast, not built once and forgotten, a living one, updated regularly, reviewed with someone who actually understands the business. I'd say that's absolutely essential. So if I were looking at a business, I wouldn't start by asking, did you make a profit? So I'd ask these. So how quickly do your customers actually pay you? How much cash is trapped in debtors right now? How much stock or work in progress are you carrying? Are you paying your suppliers faster than your customers pay you? What tax is quietly building up? Do you have a 13-week cash flow forecast? And do you know your margin by job? And which of your customers are genuinely profitable? So if these questions made you a little uncomfortable, good. It's good that you're feeling uncomfortable because you're starting to realize the feeling of finding the money or not finding it and knowing how much better things could be for you if you have adequate data. So because, just go on to the next slide. There we go. Because cash flow isn't just an accounting issue, it's also strategic. It affects your growth, affects your borrowing, your dividends, your valuation, and whether your business is ready for sale. No one wants to buy a business which has lots of cash flow problems. And here's something every owner who plans to exit one day needs to hear. A buyer will not just look at your profit. So a serious buyer asks whether that profit converts into cash and how well it converts into cash. So a buyer pays for cash-backed earnings, not spreadsheet EBITDA. Everyone can do a beautiful spreadsheet. Profit does not turn into cash. Your business is riskier, and risk reduces value. So what do you actually do about it? So here I'm going to give you 5 steps. 1, track your debtor days every month, not the odd glance at the aged debtors report. Track the trend. Is it creeping up? Maybe your cash is being trapped. Maybe you're not chasing things properly. 2, build a weekly credit control rhythm and make sure someone owns it. Not we chase when we remember, a proper process. And many, larger companies will have their own credit control department with several people all day long, sending out emails, phoning people, asking for money and so on. So 3, create a rolling 13-week cash flow forecast. So that's your early warning system. So what we do, we create a 13-week forecast in the future, which measures 3 things. Well, cash flow, forecast, P&L, and balance sheet, because they're all related. Change one thing in the balance sheet or P&L also flows through and affects your cash flow forecast as well. And 4, you need to understand your cash conversion cycle, which means how long it takes to turn work into cash and what stages it goes through in that cycle. And 5thly, you need to connect your cash flow to your overall strategy. Strong cash gives you options. It's fantastic. Weak cash takes them away. So quick one. Out of those 5, how many are you already doing? Pop a number, 0 to 5 in the comments. No judgment at all. I just want to know where everyone's starting from. So if your business is profitable, but the cash feels tight, don't ignore it. And please don't assume the answer is simply more sales. The real issue is usually hidden in debtor days, stock, in tax timing, in weak forecasting, in growth that's eating cash faster than it makes it. So all of that is fixable, but only if you can see it. Because once you understand the numbers, you stop guessing, you stop reacting, and you start leading. So here's my offer to you. If a business is profitable, but the cash still feels tight, that's exactly what we do at Redbox Financial. So we get owners in front of their numbers. We help them improve cash flow, uncover hidden profit, and build a business that's more valuable and easier to run. So if you'd like me to help you see where your cash is actually going, book a totally free fast growth financial strategy session with me. The link's on the screen. It's redboxfinancial.com/book. And we just have a chat about your business, about your strategy and so on, about your problems. and then we'll take it from there. So go and look at your debtor days this week and start leading. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, please get in touch with me if you want to discuss any of these issues, or if you want to hop on a free Zoom call to just brainstorm and chat about what's going on in business. Please book one at redboxfinancial.com/book. It'd be great to meet you. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best, and I hope that you sort your cash out. All the best. Bye.